The rain hammered against the window of my office, a relentless percussion accompanying the bitterness in my whiskey. Harding. That's what they called me. A name I'm beginning to think I don't deserve. Lila Monroe's case clung to me like the dampness in the air, heavy and unsettling. Arthur Monroe's disappearance stank of something deeper than a simple missing person. She's a beautiful woman, Lila. Cold, but beautiful. Wealth dripping from her like expensive perfume. A pearl necklace, a tailored suit, an expression that could freeze the river. She's paid well, too, which doesn't make the unease any easier to bear. A warning, delivered with a tremor in her voice she couldn't quite hide, kept circling in my mind. Just be careful, Mr. Harding. Some doors are best left unopened. I needed another drink. The case file lay open on my desk, a chaotic sprawl of photographs, receipts, and scribbled notes. Arthur Monroe, textile importer, or so he claimed. Warehouse number 7, down by the docks, was his primary operation. The mug I found there, caked to the concrete floor, wasn't from any legitimate textile deal. It was the mud of something moved in haste, something that didn't want to be seen. And then there was the pottery fragment, a piece of ancient Egyptian pottery, intricately decorated with hieroglyphs. Out of place in a warehouse, full of bolts of fabric. I swirled the whiskey in my glass, the amber liquid catching the dim light. Blackwood. Edward Blackwood. The name felt like a weight in the room. Lila's late husband's business partner. He's a ghost in the case, a presence you fear but can't quite grasp. I've managed to avoid a direct encounter. Too controlled, too calm. He has a way of watching that makes the hairs on your neck prickle. A knock on the door. Damnation. I wasn't expecting anyone. Yeah, I grunted, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. Sal Demarco stood in the doorway, looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. His face was pale, his eyes darting nervously around the room. Mr. Harding, he mumbled, shuffling his feet. Mr. Blackwood wants to see you. My gut tightened. Now. Sal nodded, avoiding my gaze. He said it was urgent. I sighed, putting down my glass. Tell him I'll be there in 15 minutes, and tell him to make it worth my time. Blackwood's mansion was a fortress of wealth and silence. Crestwood, they called it. The rain seemed to soften as I approached, a deliberate contrast to the oppressive atmosphere that hung over the place. 2 uniformed guards stood watch at the imposing front door. They didn't even bother to acknowledge me. The interior was as sterile and opulent as the exterior suggested. Marble floors, antique furniture, and priceless artwork lined the walls. It felt less like a home and more like a museum. Blackwood was waiting for me in his study, a large, dimly lit room dominated by a massive mahogany desk. He sat behind it, his posture impeccable, his expression unreadable. Mr. Harding, he said, his voice smooth and controlled. Thank you for coming. I nodded curtly, taking a seat in one of the chairs facing his desk. You said it was urgent. He steepled his fingers, studying me with those unsettlingly calm eyes. Yes, I'm concerned about your inquiries. I'm just following the facts, Mr. Blackwood. Facts can be misleading, Mr. Harding. Sometimes it's better to leave well enough alone. And what exactly are you worried I'm going to uncover? He chuckled softly. Let's just say some questions are best left unanswered, for everyone's sake. Is that a threat, Mr. Blackwood? He smiled and reached his eyes. Merely a suggestion, Mr. Harding. A friendly piece of advice. He paused, then added, I understand you're interested in Arthur's dealings with certain antiquities. My eyes narrowed. You know about the pottery fragment? He shrugged. Arthur had eclectic tastes. He dabbled in many things. And what exactly was he doing with them? Blackwood leaned back in his chair, considering his words. Arthur was a businessman, Mr. Harding. He saw opportunities where others didn't. He acquired artifacts. He intended to find a buyer. For whom? That is not something I am at liberty to discuss. Everything's connected, isn't it? The textiles, the pottery, and Arthur's disappearance. Mr. Harding, I urge you to reconsider your involvement in this case. It's more complex than you realize. You're playing with forces you don't understand. And what are those forces, Mr. Blackwood? He rose from his chair and walked towards the window, looking out at the rain-swept grounds. Let's just say some people don't like their secrets exposed. A sudden noise from behind me. A floorboard creaked. I spun around, hand instinctively moving towards my holster. Lila Monroe stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and desperation. Edward, she whispered, her voice trembling. You shouldn't have brought him here. Blackwood turned slowly, his expression hardening. Lila, what are you doing? I can't keep it in anymore, she said, her voice rising. He's involved, Edward. Both of you. Arthur didn't just disappear. He was silenced. Lila, you're being hysterical, Blackwood said, taking a step towards her. He was going to expose the collector, she blurted out. Arthur found out about the stolen antiquities, about the deals, about everything. A collective gasp filled the room. I exchanged a look with Blackwood, who suddenly looked vulnerable. The collector is a myth, Lila, Blackwood said, his voice tight. He's real, Edward, she insisted, and he doesn't like people asking questions. Arthur was going to hand over the evidence. The hieroglyphic locket. It contains the key, the proof. She pulled the locket from beneath her dress. It gleamed in the dim light, an intricate design of ancient symbols etched onto its surface. Suddenly, the lights flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. A scream echoed through the mansion, quickly swallowed by the sound of crashing furniture. When the emergency lights finally kicked in, illuminating the scene in a sickly green glow, Lila Monroe was gone. The locket lay on the floor, glinting amongst the debris, and Edward Blackwood stood over her, a single drop of blood staining his immaculate suit.